Welcome to Healing Your Families. I'm Emily Penrod, and I help you as a parent go from frustration, stress, and overwhelm to calm, confidence, and joy so that you can achieve the quality of family life that you desire. That's what I want for you. And I am so excited for today's episode. I get to have a wonderful discussion on self esteem with my friend and fellow show host, Jeannine Rivers. Jeannine Rivers is the show host for Jeannine's Voice on Saturday mornings. So, Jeannine, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, Emmylou.
I am delighted to have you here. And when I thought about who can tell us about self esteem, I love what you're doing. When you started your show, Jeannine's Voice, and your mission is to teach women how to find their voice and use it. And your messages have just been powerful and really vibrant.
Thank you very, very much. It's important to me that I'm able to set the example or show women how important it is to use their voice.
It is. I'm just doing some research on this topic. Self-esteem is really nothing more than just giving yourself respect and admiration. We give other people respect and admiration, and sometimes we neglect to do that for ourselves.
Yes, and what I find is when you don't have good self-esteem, you have a tendency to accept anything in your life. You accept people being disrespectful to you. You will accept really toxic relationships, so and you don't have respect for yourself, and you also don't treat yourself very well if you don't have good self-esteem.
That's true. You don't. And I I also think it's important. Self-esteem is so important, and we talk about, and we're going to get into the value of having high self-esteem and believing in yourself and trusting yourself. But I want to take just a minute to clarify the difference between an inflated ego and high self-esteem. Would you agree that they're not the same?
They are not the same. They are not the same at all. I totally. It's like it's a line there. Yeah, the ego, it's um you're better, you know it all. You're better than everything else. You don't have any problems with insecurity. You're just, everyone else is small and you're the greatest.
And our self-esteem is based on our thought patterns. Really, it's just kind of what we tell ourselves. If we tell ourselves we're no good, then we think poorly of ourselves. We don't respect ourselves. If we tell ourselves we're wonderful, we're great, we can do anything. But I love that quality of being able and willing to learn.
Yes. Yes. Being humbled, being humbled.
And
Admitting
and
when you're wrong. Admitting when you're wrong.
and when you have high self-esteem, you can admit that you're a work in progress. There's still room for improvement.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. And also a person who has an inflated ego, um, they don't want to be told that they're wrong because they don't believe they're wrong. And they don't believe that there's anything else for them to learn, that they have figured it all out and you are the problem. So yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad we clarified that. So we're not talking about that inflated self-esteem. We're talking about believing in yourself, having confidence, and to move forward, to pursue your goals.
Yes.
Now, I love your story. I would just appreciate it if you could share it on how has your life changed since you have been able to increase your self-esteem.
Wow. That's a very good question. Oh, there's so much in the bowl. And I'm trying. Well, I'm going to tell you what has changed for me is when I learned to really love myself and like myself. Along with that came my self-respect, and it really helped me. I don't allow the toxic, how do you say it, the toxicity in my life, the toxic, I don't allow toxic people into my life. And toxic people for me are people who do not like or appreciate anything that I do in my life. They don't see any value in who I am. They don't see me for who I am, but they will nitpick on every fault that you have to try to bring you down. So I don't allow that type of environment in my life. And I have come to learn that since I love and respect myself, that if I allow people in my life that can see me the same way that I do, that they're going to treat me more, they're going to handle me better. They're going to handle me better. They're going to love me when I'm not doing everything the way that they should think I should do it. They're going to accept that I may not do the things that I want them to do. So it really allows you to see what it's like to be loved by other people. So my life has just changed. So I mean, it's like a bucket of love. Whereas before, it really wasn't, because when you have people in your life that don't like you, don't appreciate you, you don't like yourself, because you ask yourself, well, gee, what am I doing wrong? You're always questioning who you are as a person, and I don't do that based on how other people are treating me.
It,
I hope that answers the question.
it does. It does. And it sounds to me like you learned how to set some healthy boundaries.
Yes, yes.
And it ties in with the title of your show, Jeannine's Voice. This says to me that you don't feel you always had a voice. It was something you learned later in life.
Correct. It is something that I learned later in life. I learned that it was okay for me not to, it mainly came from, to be honest, it came from my parents, because I grew up in a very strict household. And I always tell my father now, he was like he was an army sergeant, and we were all in the army, and he was, higher ranked than we were, and pretty much whatever he said went. And you weren't allowed to express yourself if you would disagree, because that was being disrespectful, and you were talking back, so so I shut down, and so I never said anything. And then as I got older and I started feeling better about who I was, and when I spoke up more and spoke my truth, then I began to see, oh, it's okay for me to think differently. It's okay that I don't agree with you. It's okay. It wasn't okay for them that I didn't agree with them. It kind of put a strain on our relationship. But you feel so free. You feel like, you've conquered the world when you have a voice. And I'm still learning to have more of a voice. My voice is still not as loud as I would like it to be, but it used to be a small whisper. And now I always say my voice is like roar. I have a roar.
Well,
No, literally, it's like roar.
well, for those who don't know, you're also a professional singer. I think you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you very, very, very much. And you know what else? Having a voice when you sing also means you have a voice to sing the songs that you want to sing. Because if you're in a band, when you come together as a group, people have a tendency to want to pick the vocalist's songs. And if with us doing our shows and with us being speakers, that you don't want to teach on a topic that's not familiar to you, right? Because
Yes.
then it just becomes book knowledge, and you're just, you know, you know, textbook. But if you're not feeling the subject, it's not the same. Well, when I'm on stage and I want to sing a song, I don't want to look at sheet music and the words and just sing them. I want to feel it in my soul. So it's even the same with when you're a vocalist. You still have to have a voice, right?
Now, what are you able to do now? Now that you have found your voice, what is your life like now compared to before when you still felt like you didn't have a voice?
Um, can I talk about the good and the bad about it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because I think it's important.
Tell.
Yeah, well, when you ask the question one more time, Emily, I'm sorry. I lost the thought. I ask me the question again.
Well, actually, maybe just share your story of you. You said that you grew up in this home where you felt, it was. It sounds like it was a very authoritarian parent, and it was his way or the highway, and you didn't feel like you had a voice. Oh, and
Oh,
at some
now I
point,
remember what your question was. Now I remember. What is it like? You know, I have to be very careful because I went from this very um, quiet yet, you know, when you're tall and when you have a tall stance about yourself, and even though you're still quiet, you intimidate people. Just I
just
would
by your
walk into a
size.
room. I was walking to a room is because I'm this tall woman who's a little chunky. People go like, oh, because but so now, now that I have a voice, I have to be very careful because it comes across as being arrogant and someone who has an ego. And I'm learning to be softer, but in the beginning, when I really found my voice and it felt really, really good, I found that it was an angry voice, meaning I was just determined to always want things to be my way or the highway because I had a voice now. And to me it meant, well, you can't tell me what to do because that's not how I want to do it. I'm going to do it this way. And it caused me to be very controlling, to control my environment. And to some people, I was arrogant and I had an ego, like, oh, she really thinks she knows everything. And it wasn't that. So I've had to learn to be softer. I've had to learn that I don't have all the answers. I'm not always right. And then I had to remember that other people have a right to their opinions too. I don't have to agree. Um, I used to have a college professor, and he used to always say to us, um, he would always say, "You don't have to agree, but it's nice if you understand and you're able to listen." So I've learned to understand, and if I don't agree, I disagree in love and with a smile. But when you don't agree, it's educational because then it makes you wonder, well, I wonder why they believe that. And it makes you wiser. So yeah, so it's
Yes,
still very freeing.
it is. It is. And I'm wondering, are you feeling that there are things you're able to do now that you couldn't, like 20 years ago, could you have a weekly show on TV?
Oh, I do believe that in my vision and in my heart and mind, I would want to, but it would not come as easy as it was for me to sing. Because that because what having a talk show and encouraging women was always my second dream, because I believe you have more than one. My first one was to just simply sing. But then my second goal became, because I had gone through so many things in my life, that I wanted to encourage people by speaking So I wanted to do it, but I like, I never saw it possibly ever happening.
This has been my observation that as we learn to increase our self esteem, as we believe in ourselves, we develop more confidence in ourselves. It's freeing in that we're more willing to take risks. We're willing
Mhm.
to do things that maybe were too terrifying before,
Yes.
but now we're willing to start. And just as we were talking about, at first, the difference between the inflated ego and high self esteem, self esteem doesn't come alone. We need more than just that high self esteem. We also need to take action. We need to start taking those steps that are going to allow us to live our dreams and reach our goals.
Yes. Yes, I agree with that. Um,
So
as
that
I, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Malone.
I was just going to say, so that key point of believing we can do it and then taking that first step, however small it is, just taking that step. And then when we feel that success, I think achievement, incremental achievements, lead to increased self esteem. So as we take, and would you agree with this, as you took each step moving forward, it allowed you to feel more confident,
Yes.
more.
Yes, I really agree with that. And I've also noticed that when I gained this, you know, my self-esteem, that as I've gotten older, I've started to doubt myself and had to rejuvenate my self-esteem by doing different things because now that I'm older, I can't possibly do that. Oh, I'm too old to do this. I can't do that. And you have to really feed your self-esteem more. For me, as I've gotten older, I've had to do things to keep that level of my self-esteem where it should be.
So would you say that increasing your self esteem is like watering a plant? You don't just water it once, you have
Yes,
to keep watering it.
yes, yes, yes. I like that. Yes, you do.
And what are some ways that you help nurture your self esteem? When those self doubts come in, what helps you to push, push through them?
One of my main things is journaling and meditating. Journaling and meditating on what's not working to help me figure out what needs to work. And also going ahead and being able to try doing those things that you never ever thought that you could do. So like a little mini bucket list, and not being afraid to do something that might really be outrageous, but something you've always wanted to do. Um,
I I
yeah,
heard someone say once that every day you should do something that scares you.
right. I like that. And you know what else is key? This is kind of funny. For me, it's doing something that my daughter tells me I'm too old to do.
I love it.
And proving her wrong. I'll say, I want to do this. Mom, you can't do that. You're too old. I'm like, oh yeah? Right. So yes.
I love that. I also, I read a book once that said we tend to build trophies in our mind to our past mistakes. Like,
Ooh,
say, something horribly embarrassing happened to us when we were in junior high, and we build this huge monument to it. And always, oh, remember that time, and we feel embarrassed all over again. And yet, when we have those successes, when we won an award in school, when we did something really well, we kind of brush it aside as, oh, yeah, yeah, I got a master's degree, whatever. And it should be the reverse. When we make a mistake, we should learn from it and just objectively view it. Okay, what can I do differently next time? And then when we have those achievements, that progress, build the big monument to that. Make that the big celebration and the thing that you'll always look back on and remember.
Right. Because when we build that trophy around the things that we, that we may have done not well, or something that has a bad memory, is it fair to say that the reason the trophy is built is because of how it made us feel, and that
Mm-hmm.
feeling is still within us? So, and we never forget it, and we never forget that feeling. And when you have so many triggers, the trophy gets bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. But if we could say we had a project at work and it just, several things went wrong, we could just say, okay, what do we need to do differently next time? How can we make this more effective? That, and then just resolve, okay, we've learned, now we can let that go and move forward.
Hmm. Yes, I like that. I totally agree with that.
And the other thing I just need to comment on is, has your relationship with your dad changed over time?
Oh yes, it has. It has, but he's still, when I give my it's so funny. I just got off the phone with him before we did the show, and we were discussing a hot topic. I call it a hot topic because it was a hot topic. And he was talking and talking and gives, telling me the same thing that he's told me for years. And I decided he needed to know my viewpoint. He didn't like it, but he kind of skipped over it. And he says, well, okay, daughter, if that's how you feel. But he's learned to respect me. He's learned to respect, and, and leave it be, but he still wants to just like push his viewpoint into me and make me feel like, nah, no, it's not like that. So yes,
Well,
but it's gotten a whole lot better.
well, kudos to you for a couple of things. First, you maintain that relationship. It sounds like you're accepting, that's the way dad is.
Right.
And you also are teaching him how to treat you. And it really is true that we teach other people how to treat us.
Yes.
And you learn that lesson. And to me, that says you really have found your voice. You really do have a healthy self esteem. You're able to love your dad, accept him as he is, but set some healthy boundaries. It sounds like you're not letting him walk all over you,
Right.
and teaching him
Hmm.
to respect you and accept you as you are.
Yes.
That's
And I
huge
have,
for families. I
it
love
is,
it.
yes, but I have had to learn that when he is not willing, when he's pushing his opinion on me, that it's a trigger. It takes me back to little Jeannine. So what I find is I have to literally take a deep breath and respond as adult Jeannine, and not the angry child, angry teenager, in the angry early 20s Jeannine. And I have to remember that, because there's been a few times when I wasn't so nice about it, but I realized why I responded the way. So,
That's
you know,
huge.
that,
Is
yes.
moving from little Jeannine to adult Jeannine, and I think that goes for all of us. Is making good use of that maturity and wisdom we've gained with age. And what you do with your clients is very similar to what we do with families. Parents want to teach their children to find their voice, to have high self-esteem, and you are doing that with your clients.
Right, right. Um, I my 15-minute power call for me is about providing that safe space for a person to talk about what the real issue is for them. Maybe it's you don't feel comfortable speaking up for yourself, or maybe you want to learn how to make your voice, more of a superpower than it already is. Or, how can we collaborate? It's all over the place. It's about connecting and collaborating and providing that safe space.
That's
Mhm.
great. So, in families, I feel, parents teach most effectively by example. Our children are watching us. And of course, if we don't have a healthy self esteem, it's hard to teach it to them. So if we're able to exude this confidence with the willingness to learn, the humility, but also taking steps, setting goals, and moving towards them, we teach that to our children. But I also think, and maybe you found this with your clients too, that it takes some positive feedback. Sometimes people don't recognize what they do well, and they benefit from someone telling them what their strengths are. And definitely this is true with children. Children need to hear from their parents that they're lovable, that they're worthwhile, that they do things right, and that they have strengths that they can build on.
Right. You said something that was very, very powerful, is that yes, it's very good to give people our positive feedback, our good feedback, letting them know what they do well. But we also have to remember that what we don't think they do well, we have to be really careful of how we present that, say that, because to them, they may be doing well. So it's such a very it's the tone in which, because sometimes what we don't think they do well is an opinion, and we have to be careful with that. We have to help them find and make sure, okay, is this, and ask, can I suggest something? Maybe what we suggest may enhance, you know, what we think they're not doing well.
And I agree. Would you ever try to offer advice to one of your clients that they're not ready to hear yet?
Yes, that's right. No, I wouldn't want to do that. Some people are just too fragile.
And
Mhm.
they're more receptive when they can sense now there's something's not right and they want to change, they want to become better, then they're ready and they're open.
Right, right.
And I think it's the same way with our children, especially when they get into the teen years and into young adulthood. I think there comes to a point that you only offer advice when it is asked for. If your child is an adult,
Mhm.
then you wait until they ask. Or you might say, would you like some input on that? But accept it if they say no. No, thank you.
That's a tough one, but yes, you're right. Yes, yes, yes.
And think and is there any tell us how people can contact you. What's the best way for them?
The best way for them to contact me is, there's two ways: illuminateyourdreams.com or Jeannine'sVoice.com. If you go to Jeannine'sVoice.com, you'll be able to link up to past episodes that you may have missed of Jeannine's Voice, and you can sign up for my newsletter and for the 15-minute power call, and also join the Illuminated Women Rising group.
Wonderful, Jeannine. You have so much to offer. I love what you're doing to
Thank
help
you.
women find their voice. Thank you so much for joining us, and you have a great day. So, those of you who came, thank you for joining us. Join us again next week at the same time. And next week, we'll be starting this series on those special cases that families face. And the first one will be on single parents. We'll be talking about the challenges they face and some solutions. Until then, love yourself, love your families. This is Emmylou Penrod with HealingYourFamilies.com.